Hey everyone,
Hey
Happy New Year.
everyone, Happy New Year. Let's wait for one more minute to see if anyone else joins. Was it also a 2 week shutdown in NVIDIA?
I mean, between 2 weeks, there were 4 days it was off, so people kind of wrapped the 4 days before, after, and took vacation. So um, it was not like written down shutdown, but yeah.
Yeah, I think we have something similar here. So, okay, we are 3 minutes past the hour. Let's get started. Hello everyone, welcome to the OVN-Kubernetes community meeting. Today is the 5th of Jan 2026. Let's follow the CNCF code of conduct and be kind to one another. There are not much topics on the agenda, so if folks want to add something that you want to bring up today, please take the time to do so. If not, we can get started. And yeah, very happy New Year to all of you. The first topic is actually from me that we did cut the 1.2 release before the end of the year. And there is links to the release. And then there was also a request to document the release process and the timings a bit better. So there's like this release cadence docs that's on our website. And so we used to have a cadence of 2 releases in a year, but 6 months apart. And now we've changed it to 3 in a year, one in April, August, and December. And it's at a timing of 2 months or 3 months after the Kubernetes release, so that the Kubernetes releases and then it stabilizes and then we consume it and then we cut our release. So if there's, and we can change this process, right? It's not set in stone. So if there is anything we need to reconsider, we can learn from our experience and go from there. So given we released the 1.2, and based on what we had spoken in the past, the 1.1 will not be maintained anymore. One thing to note is that in 1.2, I did mark the central mode as deprecated. So in 1.1, we had already said that the IC would be the default mode, and I think Tim had a PR to change that in 1.1. In 1.2, I marked the central mode deprecated, and I think in 1.3, we want to remove the central mode. We can speak about it in the future meetings if we need to reconsider that, but at least that's based on the past meetings that we had discussed that. For 1.3 release, which is targeting again another 4 months, right? So we have 4 more months for 1.3, but I just want to bring up the targeted features which we couldn't complete in 1.2. And the list is here. Tim and Girish, if you feel I have left out something, please add them to the list. And there is a project milestone dashboard view, which is what I use for the release as well. So if I open it up here, then all of you should be able to access it in our org. There are these specific milestone tags that we use. It would be good if all the feature owners who are working on those features could add the milestone tag so that your PR shows up in the release planning. And that actually helps with the, so we know what date it's on. So you can see that the 1.3 is set for April 30, and we can try to track how much we're able to complete in a month.
Yeah, I think quite a few things are missing here, right? One is multi-VTEP support. That's very critical to us, right? We have in any AI infrastructure data centers, you would have multiple interfaces. So therefore multiple VTEPs, and so we need multiple VTEP support in UDN. And each of this VTEP would have its own SROV virtual function resource, right? You'll have 8 east-west NICs, and you would have VFs from those NICs, and therefore different SROV resource pool. So we need to see whether we should adopt DRA at this point, network DRA with VFs and everything, and then see if the path there is to use DRA instead of UDN. So there's something that's in my mind I need to kind of explore a little bit. So DRA versus SROV resource pool in UDN. That's how I would put it. The other thing that's missing is the whole MCP server. How are we tying in the MCP server, which is a different project in the community, with the release cadence of this? Would it have its own life cycle, or would it be tied in into this release? I would have it tied in, but let's hear from others. Multi-vtep, MCP, no overlay is becoming very critical for us. So this is something I'm trying to do POC myself with the DPU in it. The enhancement that I read upstream does not consider DPU as a bump in the wire compute. So that's something that we need to. I'm going to submit some updates to that PR, that OKEP, to enhance it for the DPU stuff. So these are some of things. And also, are we thinking about merging the BGP of OVN with BGP of OVN, the fork in the road presentation that you guys did? Or is it going to be separate for now, and then at some point we are going to converge? Or what's the thinking on the Red Hat side?
For the BGP implementation side, there is no specific urgency in Red Hat side as of now. But before we try to do EVPN on shared gateway, at least we will revisit it and work with the OVN team to see if there is some common things that we could plug out. But there is no specific tracker for this yet.
Okay.
That's where things are. Like we know that there are some gaps that we would need to evaluate a bit more deeply, and then work with OVN team to see if it's possible to plug those gaps and then see what benefit it brings us, etc. Right. So there's no hurry on it, but it's on the long-term tech debt horizon. For the MCP server bit, I had envisioned a separate release because it's a separate project. The binary is not exactly tied to OVN Cube because we don't want to bloat the primary CNI. But let's
Right.
see how much it matures, right? Like I think almost the server elements are kind of done, but there's a lot of work we could do on top. Like Divesh had some ideas to add an agentic side of it, right, to deploy things. So it could be its own thing so that there is more flexibility in adding things there.
I
But yeah,
expect it to be
it's up
its
for
own thing,
debate.
100%. I expect to be its own thing, its own Helm chart with, I don't know,
Yeah.
uh, the deployment, 100% on board with that. I was just trying to see, are we releasing it, the cadence, is it also 3 times a year? Or do we going to release it? See, let's say you release 1.4, right? And or 1.3, and with 1.3 comes a new set of features, and then also comes along with it is a bunch of tools and actions for the MCP server to debug this. So if we release
Yeah.
it the same cadence as the 1.3, it makes whoever is deploying it to debug easier as well. So that's my thinking.
I was actually thinking that for the short term, right? Like in the next 4 or 5 months, MCP server is not going to have a major release, quote unquote. So it's not even there yet. Like it's not like OVN Kubernetes where it's going to have a 1.0 release until it stabilizes. So
Mm.
because it's a new project, we are going to start off with the very first release is going to be 0.1 and 0.2, 0.3. So we don't have to consider much. Like we can move quickly. There is a lot of flexibility. And once we are stable, more or less, right? Like when we feel like this is what we want to ship as our major release, that's when the 1.0 and 1.2, and we can easily catch up with OVN Kubernetes, right? Like that shouldn't be an issue. So yeah, we can try to see if we are able to make it easier for people to put one and one together, right? So 1.3 of OVN Kubernetes with a specific version of MCP, which is relatable, right? I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
a good point to consider. But in the at least in the immediate future, we were thinking of just cutting a 0.1 tag and release it, and then we can keep improving as we add more things. And then once we're comfortable, maybe 6 months down the lane, when pieces are a bit more there, like the deployment, how do you deploy this, right? How do you productize it? Because those elements are not exactly there today. What we have is very like raw. Then maybe we can do the major release of 1.0, or by then maybe OVN Kubernetes will have its 2.0. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, the other thing also is HDN dashboard that we have downstream, which is based on Grafana and Prometheus, which is well known. I think we should upstream that and make it its own project. It can be installed on any vanilla Kubernetes cluster running Avan Kubernetes CNI, and we call it as SDN monitoring. I think we should do that because it's pretty fairly standalone, and it does dashboard has helped us a whole lot in debugging various things, and we can also learn from the larger community to figure out how they can improve it on top of what we already have. It's a SDN monitoring project. I think we should kick off as a separate project.
Yeah, I remember very vaguely that somebody from your team had done that work. And I know that every time I cut a release, I bump the Helm chart version of the dashboard. But if there is merit in doing a new project in our org, like by all means, I think that should
Let's
be
do
okay.
it.
Yeah.
Okay. So is it like on your side? You said some intern is going to join, right? Is that person on board, or is it a
Not
bit?
yet. I think they're joining in 1 or 2 weeks. So they should be there soon for the website side of things. I think they join in the mid-Jan or something, 12th. I forget the date. But yeah. Cool. So, whatever Girish you mentioned in this that I had left out for targeted features, at least it would be good if we could add the milestone so that it comes in the project view because that's what I use. Because we have a lot of things, it's impossible to verbally track things.
Makes
So
sense.
it would be, yeah, good. And then it will come up on the roadmap here. So that makes it easy to see what's in and what's not. And it's very easy to move it to the next milestone if we need to, and so on. Cool, that's all I had for my topic. There is one more topic in the agenda, which is from Divesh.
Hi, Surya. Hi, folks. So a small change might be required in the MCP thing. I was going through the code and all. I don't know what Muscather is, and I'm pretty sure we don't have it yet in our own internal repo. I think Tim has already presented it in our internal repo, but it is not there yet. So what I'm proposing is a flag to kind of disable the things, disable tools which are not used yet, and it's also useful, right? The flag is also useful to control the context of the LLM. Like you can't have
Yeah.
all the tools
I
whatever you
thought
want.
the must gather one is only behind the offline mode, which is behind a flag. So there is two modes, is my understanding. There is online mode and offline mode, and offline has must gather and source report, which is probably something that you guys don't care about, like you said. So if you don't use the offline mode, hopefully that will not kick in, and that's how it's supposed to be. But if you see any bugs, so it should already be behind a flag, is my understanding. So if you don't see it having implemented that way, definitely make that change. I think it should be okay.
Uh, I know it's offline and online mode. I saw that, but even after that, right? We might have something our own. It's always better to have. It shouldn't be implemented on offline and online, in my opinion. It should be like probably internal dependency. Like you guys can choose whatever tools you want. We can choose whatever tools we want, right? So the way that I am thinking is better, like add a simple flag enable disable, and that would be easier to because as far as I know, at max LLM context window you can at max give 40 tools, MCP tools, for the LLMs to proper do reasoning and all, because it's all limited, right? The context window itself is limited.
Is this? I wasn't aware that there was a cap of 40 tools,
It is not
but
capped, just that if you realize there is a context engineering thing in Cursor, if you guys used it, there is a circle at the down. That means the context window is bloated. So basically, all
yeah,
this whichever we added, it is
that
appended
I
to.
have seen. Right, right. But
Yes.
I haven't really, we haven't scale tested it, so I hadn't realized that at 40 it starts bloating its context that much, unless it uses all the 40, right? Like
Yeah,
so
exactly.
that's
Why
the
would
thing. Like so, the repo's in a state where we have added things, but Orco is now planning to actually. Maina is also working on it from QE side. They're
Mm-hmm.
actually planning to test all the tools together because it was done in layers. So based on that, we will probably have to cut down and change a few things and even disable things. I think disabling is a great idea and making it more use what you want kind of a thing, right? So I think those ideas are more than welcome. Maybe you can open issues or small OCAPs in that
Mm-hmm.
repo itself, and we can try to work together to see how we can, also take your requirements into consideration. I think it's a
I mean,
good idea.
the thing is, why would it run all of those MCP tools at the same time, right? I
It
mean,
won't.
I can't.
That's the thing,
Yeah,
right? I don't think it
this,
is going to. So that we
I'll
need to
explain.
test it.
I'll
Yeah.
explain how it works. So for what this happens is all the MCP tools it will be first given to LLM to let LLM know what tools exist in the first place.
correct. Those are all discovery thing, right? So yeah,
Yes.
go on.
So that's why when they are appended to the context itself, it won't be deleted once it's uploaded, right?
No, but the context only bloats when the tool is run and the output is then fed
No, no, no,
into
no.
the
Uh,
LLM.
no, Surya. I think even in the first place itself, it will figure out. Suppose it ran some tool, right? In the next step, also it asks itself, which tool should I execute next? Then again, all the 40 will be checked upon which tool is
No,
for
no,
what
the
purpose.
only the APIs, right? What the tool offers is what it checks. The output of the tool, it won't run all the 40 tools output. I don't even know, even if I write IP, NF tables, IP tables, VRF list, maybe must gather. I don't even remember, I can't even count 40 tools that we have. Like, there's no, you see what I'm saying? Even if you include
Yeah.
ARP, IP neighbor, I can't enumerate 40 tools that we'll use to. But anyways, let's kind of
The
stick
So
to
I
the.
also know the Kubernetes MCP server itself has a lot of tools already, and I haven't seen issues there. What we were at least trying to get out from Red Hat side was we want to test it, definitely
Hmm.
also to see how it performs and then go from there. Theoretically, I am hearing that, oh, there could be limits and then all of this, right? So let's see how it performs, and then we can try to see if there's something we need to improvise in that side of things.
Sure, sorry. I mean, yeah, this is from past experience. LLMs have improved more than very much in past 1 year.
Yeah,
So 40
but I
might
think the
also be.
mentioned you mentioned so, but also I think there were two things you're mentioning, right? One of them is obviously this context window might bloat and there might be a performance issue which we have not proved in theory yet, and we need to do it, right? We need to test it and see. But the
Mhm.
must gather itself, I agree with you that it's probably a bit more OpenShift specific. It could be useful for OVN Kubernetes, at least the network gathering side. It might be useful for OVN Kubernetes in general. So those source report or must gather, if it's too specific in product side of OpenShift, I think there is merit in making some of those optional so that you can unplug and play the tools generically, right? So that part I think should regardless be done a little bit better.
See, or can we see? I'm also seeing this in reading a lot of OCAPs. It also has OC commands. Is there a equivalent kubectl commands that we can use across all the upstream documentation, just so that people
OC, I
understand?
think we banned OC. Is there any code in MCP server using OC? Because
Not
in we
MCP
had
server,
oh
but
okay.
in OCAPs. In OCAPs, I've seen a lot
Oh
of OC code. Right. I was thinking of submitting MRs to update it, but I was like, okay, fine, it's too many of them. So, what I'm saying is, in general, I think we should either find a equivalent kubectl commands, or at least from the MC point of view, like you guys were discussing, put it behind a feature flag or something like that. Um,
yeah, I remember. Yeah, OC shouldn't be listed in any of our docs. It is very product specific. So I think we should
yeah.
do a cleanup if you see them in any of the OCAPs. In the MCP OCAP, we had removed all the OC. Like I got some good reviews from all of them, and then we made all of them as kubectl commands. For most of them, we were able to find kubectl equivalents. There's only very few OC commands that don't exist in kubectl world.
Okay.
Uh, okay, and so one more topic regarding the AI agent to consume this MCP, right? Uh, should we have a separate OCAP, or maybe just to the same OCAP we'll have a section of AI agent?
I think you can have a separate OCAP for AI agent because that could be its own thing, and it's much easier to iterate on smaller OCAPs than change the existing one. So a new thing might be better, Dinesh.
Sure, sorry.
Thanks, Devesh, for raising these topics.
One last.
Anything
So
else?
we
Yeah.
have Lay on the call. He's our monitoring person downstream. Lay, if you could kickstart the SDN monitoring stuff upstream by working with Nadia and Tim or anyone else, that'll be cool. Lay.
So the asset monitoring, uh, in the downstream we have a separate repo for SDN monitoring, right? So for the
Right.
upstream, do we want to create a new repo or we push the SDN dashboard in the in the own Kubernetes repo?
Yeah, that's a good question actually. I think it's right now part of the same repo.
Mm.
Um, Makes sense to be in the same repo because every time you release something, the dashboard and alerts along with the same. Yeah, I think. Sorry, I kind of yeah. Same repo is fine. We just need to update it with
Okay.
the NV 1.3. Maybe you'll have to sub 1.2. Maybe you'll have to submit a MR to 1.2 to make sure new metrics that got added as a panels in that dashboard and things like that. So let's update the dashboards to 1.2.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but there is another thing. So on the upstream, the metrics currently are quite different from the downstream. So we have the dashboard for downstream metrics, but because the upstream metrics is different, so that means we need to maintain
Two things.
two set of dashboards.
Yeah, let's see why we are different downstream, and if there is a reason why we are different, I think we should try to have vocab to make the upstream also same, or
Mhm.
if upstream makes more sense, we should bring that to downstream. Let's figure out um, what is the difference and work internally first. Okay.
Okay, yeah, sure.
I mean, it's not. It's is it handful or is it like hundreds of them are different, or only a handful of them is different, or
Yeah, for example, for the OVS metrics, uh, upstream consolidate uh, did some aggregation for the OS, for example, interface metrics. So basically, for all of the interface, there is only one metrics. So,
okay?
for downstream, we have the metrics for each of the interface. So that is there is that is one of the major difference. And also for downstream, we started to use OVS native metrics, right? But for upstream, the OVS native metrics is not even in the upstream OS
Yeah,
repo.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's code, right? Yeah, let's talk it offline. Where I know.
Mm,
Yeah, let's talk it offline and go from there.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Thank-
yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Leah and Girish. If there is any new things to be added upstream, I'm sure it will be helpful. So let's maybe see that and do it.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Then Joe has a topic for performance and scale. Joe.
Sure. Yeah, it's less about scale, but I've started to add a performance workflow in the upstream OVN Kubernetes. I have a set of metrics that I collect, and I have a report that gets generated with each run. I'm not sure if you're able to click that gist, but this is what I'm generating today. I could expand on this, like to break down to like, northbound, southbound database, like kind of go through every single container that gets launched. But, for the main KPI, a lot of the stuff that we focus in on at Red Hat is pod ready latency. So I caveat this, but we have set SLAs that we try to hit inside of Red Hat, but this is a net new environment, right? Like we've never tested on kind clusters. So the work that I've added upstream uses the Oracle Cloud that you guys have access to. I deploy my own Prometheus on top of it, and then I use KubeBurner to run a workload we call node density CNI. And when I'm after the run of the test, I collect different container metrics that get spit out from Prometheus. So the idea here would be to over time track this, and your use of your MCP server could be something that we tie into this eventually for like a GitHub Actions agent, where we could then show over time what is the performance of the upstream OVN Kubernetes with each change that happens. Any time that you run this test, we send metrics to a OpenSearch instance, and we can look at trends over time. Or you can look at it in this report right here, where it just shows you in this test, here's what was the performance that was witnessed. It is not looking at the previous test. It just looks at the current test. But anyway, I'm not sure if folks want it more broken down, or is it okay to stay at this high level? I know Tim's on. It'd be great to get some feedback on how we want to represent this data. So yeah, any feedback would be awesome.
This is every nightly run. Sorry, I missed the part. Is it nightly run, Joe, or is
So
it?
it's not, yeah, the PR is not merged. I have the PR back in the meeting notes. I have it running daily, but I also have it running against every PR once this gets merged. The job itself takes 10 to 15 minutes to run, which from what I've seen from all the other OVN CI jobs is about the same time. So my intent would be to use the nightly runs as our baseline, and then any additional PRs that are running the changes, we would compare the nightly runs to the PR runs to determine if there's a regression or if there's a change. The caveat that I have here is that, again, this is a kind cluster running on a single Oracle node. I just need to get confidence in the numbers. So having that nightly job will help me derive confidence. I am sending the data again to an Elasticsearch instance. I forgot who added that for me, but I think it was Nadia. Thank you for adding that for me in the secrets. But yeah, it will be a daily job to derive the context, and then the PRs will be what we compare to determine if there's a regression.
Mm-hmm.
So is the PR you have now going to enable that nightly job to produce the
Yes.
report you have? And then after we let that run for a while and you're confident in the data, then you'll add another PR or logic that will then run as a job per PR, I guess, and then compare that data to the nightly?
Yeah, man. So if you remember what I presented at the OVN OVS conf, essentially that second step that you just mentioned there, we'll be using that same tool, Orion, to do that comparison. So I'm storing the data in the same format into OpenSearch that we do for all of our Red Hat data. So in order to add that comparison will be extremely trivial. So yes, that's totally the intent. I don't have like access to enable my specific job, because what I would like to happen, instead of the user having to go download the artifact, it'd be nice if like a comment just got spit up on the PR itself. And if you look through the workflow that I added, I tried to have the workflow itself like add a comment, but it says that I'm not authorized to do so. So it might be when this gets merged that access is available, but right now it's currently not available.
So what do you mean by a comment? Wouldn't the PR run your new job, and then if it sees that the results are less than the nightly, it just fails the job, and then there's a summary that says, here's the difference?
Right. Yeah. So that'll be the same thing would happen. I would still want to comment, like not, sorry, if you could click the that from link, you can see, hopefully, I tried to have part of the workflow push a comment to the actual PR itself, and it just says that I can't. Scroll down a bit more, and then you'll see post performance report as PR comment. If you expand that, you'll see that it says like, I don't know, some couldn't do it. Yeah, resource not accessible by integration. So I think it's because this PR is against my branch and it's running it against my branch. Once this gets put into or merged into main or master, then I think it will be better. Again, I'm not like a GitHub Actions expert, but anyway, that's what I'm talking about, Tim. So even if it fails, even if it passes, I still want a comment to be dumped into like the PR itself, so people don't have to go like clicking around to find the data. Like I just want to make it simple.
Okay. So you want me to review this one? I can review it for you.
Yeah. Again, the one thing that I would like to get feedback on is just that report. Like it's in my head, it's like super high level, but maybe that's good enough for this work. But I'm just curious what makes sense for folks when you're considering performance data. You know, I personally thought the less busy, the better. So I try to keep it high level, but I imagine you guys want to have it broken down, not just at like the control plane level, but, you know, putting out northbound, southbound database utilizations. Are there other OVN specific metrics that I should be collecting that get sent to Prometheus? Things like that. But if this is good enough, fantastic. If not, then let's iterate on this and add those metrics.
For me, I think this is a good starting point, Joe, but it would be good to have the container spit and not just the pod spit. But I would say let's start somewhere and then it should be easy for us to change things, right? Because your PR already looks big.
Yes.
Maybe also in the report include like a summary of what the test case does, just like some bullet points, or have a link to where it's defined.
Oh, the actual test. Yeah, sure. I can throw that in there for sure. Yeah, that's a good point.
I think internally we're doing some scale testing using UDNs too, and I don't know if we can we expand this later to add different test scenarios?
Yeah, so I was working with Mohit offline to add UDN for vanilla Kubernetes test. So once that gets merged into KubeBurner, I'll add that in here.
Okay, so you pull these test scenario definitions from KubeBurner. So I guess if we wanted to add a specific one that kind of like represented our use case, we would try to define that in KubeBurner, right? And then get you to review it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Because
Okay.
all the scaffolding is there now with Kind, where I'm adding installing Prometheus, setting the route, or not a route, but exposing the service, and then having a port forward to then scrape the metrics from KubeBurner. So yeah, I can work with whoever offline on adding their specific use case.
Okay, cool. So Lei, I know you're working on perf and scale stuff with Han. So maybe you could hook up with Joe and see if we can define a scenario in KubeBurner upstream that closely represents what we're trying to do, and then we can just use the same thing downstream.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, I will do.
Thanks. Okay,
Thanks,
Joe,
Joe.
I'll review this.
Sorry, Tim, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say I'll review it within the next couple days. And thanks for doing this work, man.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Thanks, Joe, for coming upstream and doing this for us. I'm sure it's going to be a huge help. That's all we have on the agenda today. Does anyone else want to bring up anything? Anybody stuck on reviews? Anybody needs any help? Going once, twice, and sold. Okay, we can have our rest of the time back, like 25 minutes. Thanks everyone for joining. Have a great rest of your day and see you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.
I know.
Bye.